Welcome everyone. So this session is for 1 hour, but I think it may take longer also, but we can plan out more sessions in future. So it's like a beginning of a series of session. So it's not like in one session we will be able to cover everything that I want to talk about. So very first thing, this is about getting started with data science. So in this session, I will talk about data science as specialization as an area, what exactly is there and what is involved. So I'm going to talk about that. So just to give my background, I'm founder of company called Data Couch, and I have done a lot of certifications around data and machine learning. And I was first few people who got this professional Google machine learning engineer certification. And I also got professional Google data engineer certification. Both these certifications I did in beta phase. So beta phase means the information is hardly available on internet about the certification, and it is the certification duration is also like 4 hours. So I did these certifications like data engineer certification. It was launched in 2017. So I did that during that time. And after that, I renewed my certification in 2019. And I recently cleared Google ML Engineer, which was launched in October. October itself, they declared the results, and it was launched for general public after that only. So this is a quick background, the certifications. So why I'm sharing these certifications, because I am just thinking like you can also plan to appear for these certifications in future. So that you know what all things are involved in this particular area. So we will see a lot of other things in data science, but this is a quick introduction to the Google specific certifications in this domain. So agenda for today. So today we are going to have, first of all, introductions like my background, and along with that my company background. And then we will also discuss who is a data scientist, and then we will see data science overview, and then we will see what data scientists do in day-to-day work. So then we will be moving on to data science project lifecycle, and we will also be looking into the timeline, overall data science project timeline. So basically, the session is intended towards giving you an idea how a data scientist spends a day, right? And it is like being a data scientist. You know what is like one thing is we are into the domain, right? So we are being part will be covered. Like when you are a data scientist, what exactly is involved? So we will see that. So this is about me. I have over 16 years of experience in lot of technologies, including cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and big data sciences project. And I am an official instructor for Google, Cloudera, and Confluent. And I have delivered a lot of knowledge sharing sessions for different companies, including Microsoft Bangalore, Starbucks Coffee Seattle, Adobe, in multiple locations. And I was recognized by Cloudera as the Instructor of the Year 2016. So that was an APAC level award that I got from Cloudera. And I was recently recognized by Pluralsight as one of the elite instructors. So this is about me, and I would highly recommend, please do connect with me on LinkedIn. So this is a QR code through which you can directly connect with me on LinkedIn. So this is about the company. I founded this company in 2017. So we are into various areas, including big data, machine learning, deep learning, data science, DevOps, cloud infrastructure. So we provide architectural consultancy. Along with that, we also conduct a lot of knowledge sharing sessions for different companies. I just mentioned like few companies, but we have conducted so many sessions for many other companies across globe. In United States itself, like we have conducted sessions in various locations. And along with that, we have done a lot of sessions in Asia Pacific region. So we are into various areas: big data, AI, machine learning, and business intelligence domain. And also we are into cloud and DevOps. So we have done a lot of workshops for multiple companies, including Intel, Malaysia, and Microsoft and Adobe and many other companies, right? So let's move on. So who is a data scientist? So very first thing is, before we talk about the data science domain, so it is important to understand like who is a data scientist. So data scientist is like a chef, and chef is cooking in a kitchen, and chef is responsible for end-to-end delivery of a particular project, right? So we are comparing chef with a data scientist. So if you have watched any program like MasterChef, so in Australia MasterChef or Amul MasterChef, you must have watched these programs. In those programs, you must have seen like chef is responsible for performing various experiments, right? So these experiments are done through different ingredients. So these ingredients are basically Twitter data, weather data, you can say relational database data, CSV files, Excel files, or CRM data. So data can be coming from different sources, including like external sources and enterprise sources. So these external sources, as I just mentioned, like these can be like social media data, weather data. So these are external sources, but enterprise sources, we have data from various internal systems within the company. So these ingredients are like tomato, potato, cucumber, like different ingredients that we are basically having. So data scientist is responsible for acquiring data from different sources, and these sources can be like, it can be SFTP server, it can be APIs, it can be like Twitter gives you API, very nice API, Twitter streaming API, through which you can acquire data from Twitter. So Chef will go out in the market and acquire data from different sources. And once you acquire the data from different sources, you will have to clean it. Um, uh, you have to um, you have to uh, use different types of knives. So as a data scientist, you will be involved in acquiring data from different sources. And this data is usually not very clean. So you will be spending a lot of time in cleansing the data. And when you are cleansing the data, you will be using different types of knives. And some knives are for peeling potato and some knives are for cutting tomato. And these knives can be like it can be pandas, it can be Spark machine, like maybe Spark SQL you are using, or you may be using Hive, or you may be using some other technology for cleansing the data. So there are so many technologies involved here. So these technologies, these are basically knives in the kitchen. And using these knives, you are basically cleansing your data. You are removing the bad part and you are having a good part. And using that good part, you are preparing, you are experimenting, and you are then checking if this is as per the standards that we are expecting or not. So you are tasting. So this step actually talks about the tasting, uh, the experiment that you are performing. You are evaluating if it is good or not. And then once everything is fine, then you will be serving it to the end user, end customer. So our end users or end customers, basically, who will be consuming our reports. So this
Okay.
picture will take time to explain. So it's like we will just start with the very first thing. So the data scientist is acquiring data, and these data sources can be on premise or it can be on cloud. These can be like, I gave a lot of examples for data sources. And then we are cleansing data. So you will be cleansing data in the batch mode. Like a lot of times it happens that you got a lot of data together, like it can be like batch data. So you have bulk of data, you are processing bulk of data, that is like batch data processing happening. And sometimes you are having data which is like continuously streaming. When continuous streaming data is coming, that means like Twitter streaming API, when data is always flowing, like, or maybe web server logs, when log files are continuously rolling, and you want to process the data which is in motion, right? This is called streaming data processing. So you can be doing streaming data processing, or you can be doing maybe batch data processing. And then this kitchen, when I say kitchen, this is the environment. And you are a chef working in a kitchen, and this kitchen can be on-prem or it can be on cloud. So when I say kitchen is on-prem or it can be on cloud, that means like Kitchen can be AWS. On AWS, you can be using SageMaker, or you may be using Azure ML Studio, or you may be using Google Cloud AI platform, or you may be using Cloudera Data Science Workbench or Anaconda platform. So there are different environments in which you may be performing experiments. So we have so many kitchens. So you can actually choose depending on the requirements of your organization. Like maybe your organization has a specific preference for a particular cloud provider. You may be going for that, or it depends like how your environment is. And after that, you will be using wrangling, cleansing it. You will be using knives to clean the data. You will be validating the data. There are multiple steps involved. Even this particular area will take months. It's not like a very simple step. So feature engineering will take a lot of time. So you will be ensuring that the data, when we are making French fries, so, we cut that in a manner so that it is useful for like cooking. We will not put the potatoes as is for French fries. We will change it, or maybe we will process the raw potato into a shape so that it can be cooked nicely, right? So the same concept holds true here. Like this feature engineering is actually ensuring that the data that we are providing for machine learning, the cooking, it should be in a manner so that it can be actually cooked nicely, and it is like final result should be consumable, and it should be having good results, like overall the way we are expecting. So now coming on to this particular area, so once we have data available for machine learning, once we have everything in place, like the way we are expecting the data, and then we will be using that data for our modeling part. So what is machine learning modeling? So what happens basically, like there are multiple approaches of doing this machine learning. So in general, I talk about the basic approach of machine learning, which is like you are providing data for the machine learning. And what is happening, like when you are cooking, so this modeling part, what happens, you are having an algorithm which is basically learning from data. So this is a different way of thinking. So in this way of thinking, we are actually having like algorithm which is working on the data, and it is learning from the data, and it is finding a pattern in the data, and it will basically build a machine learning model, trained machine learning model. So this part is basically like when you are cooking, so you are understanding the pattern in the data, and you are understanding an algorithm. That algorithm is intelligent enough to understand the pattern in the data, and then you are getting a trained machine learning model. So this part is going to take time to actually get complete understanding, but I'm just giving you high level idea, but we will delve deeper into it, right, what exactly is happening in this particular step. But just understand right now we are having the prepared data. So once data is prepared, then we are giving that as an input to my algorithm, and algorithm is learning from the data, and it is understanding a pattern, and then we are getting a trained machine learning model. So this model is then you are getting something, you are preparing something, and then you are having a recipe, and you are performing experiments. Some experiments are successful, some experiments are not successful. And once an experiment is successful, then you are evaluating the machine learning model. And once you evaluate the machine learning model, you can, you see right now you are checking the quantity of salt is okay or not. If everything is fine, the quality of the machine learning model is good, then you will expose it as a web service. You are exposing it as a web service, or you may be exporting exporting it as a pickle file, or maybe some other format, and then you are serving it. Like, so you are using, let's say we take one example of web service, you are exposing that web service, and then using that you are making calls. I will give you some examples. Let's take one example of taxi fare prediction. So Uber, when we are booking Uber, we are booking a taxi, so we are sending some parameters. So let's say we have machine learning model deployed here, and we want to predict the taxi fare. So we want to predict how much will be the cost of the trip. So you will be passing the pickup point latitude, longitude, and then you will be also passing like drop point latitude, longitude, and then based on that, it will compute the actual fare of the taxi. So this machine learning model is predicting something, right? And that prediction is about the taxi fare prediction, and it is expecting some inputs, and those inputs will be going, let's say you are having Uber application open, and that application will be sending that data to the web service. And then the data will be cleaned, right? Because the data will be like from mobile application, when data is going to the web service, then it is in raw format, and then data will be cleaned. And after that, the machine learning model will be invoked, and then we will get a prediction, and prediction will tell us the actual fare for the taxi. So that's the high level idea. But Anurag, does it make sense, like what exactly is modeling, what is happening here? So I understand right now we have not discussed many things, but in general, I just gave you a couple of lines, like what exactly is modeling, and then we will see in subsequent sessions, as well as right now also today's session also, we will delve deeper into it. So does it make sense, Anurag, like what exactly is modeling? Because you asked this question, so I'm just checking specifically from you. And also I'm just checking with others also. Any questions till now on the process? Anurag, if you're speaking on mute, you can unmute yourself. Just want to check.
Yeah. Basically, I have not any doubt for now. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah. So just be with me. You will understand like more what exactly is happening here. I'm going back. So if you see, like data scientist is working with a team in the kitchen, and this kitchen is having a lot of data engineers also. And these data engineers are helping data scientists to clean the data. And you will find these data, when I say data engineers, they also involve data administrator. So administrator will set up the kitchen, right? So these administrators, when they set up the kitchen, they are they can be a LDAP administrator, they can be like Linux administrator, they can be like database administrator, they can be Hadoop administrator, data lake administrator. There are so many different types of administrators. So these administrators are responsible for setting up the kitchen. And once they set up the kitchen, then this is a platform where data scientists will be performing experiments. And in this kitchen, we have to have the knives also. Like we need Hive, which is a knife, and then Spark SQL, another knife, Pandas, a smaller knife. So we have TensorFlow, a different knives are there in the kitchen for performing data cleansing, data pre-processing. So these knives are placed at the specific position, at the specific location. And here we have so many engineers who are helping in cleansing the data, right? So this is the analogy that will help you in understanding the data science process overall, right? So what data scientists will do in the day-to-day work? So let's see that. So we have different activities in data science overall. Like you will see 60 to 70% of the time goes into data cleansing. But before we do data cleansing, we have to collect the data. We have to acquire the data. And this data will be acquired from different sources. Data scientists are also called hackers. And why we call them hackers? Because a lot of times it happens that the data acquisition is not so easy. You will find like APIs are exposed by a lot of external systems, and it is fine to extract data from Twitter because Twitter gives you APIs. And when Twitter is giving API, you can acquire the data from the Twitter very easily because you have a very well-defined protocol and you can extract the data. But a lot of times it happens that the acquisition of data is not so straightforward. And there are a lot of legacy systems. There are systems which don't support like REST-based APIs, or they don't support the protocols that you are expecting. So data scientists, they collect data from different sources, even those sources which are very difficult to be like automated or acquired. So that's why data scientists are also called hackers, because you can acquire data from even very difficult, the sources which are very difficult to automate or very difficult to parse. So you can actually, the data scientists can actually acquire data from there. And once you acquire the data, you will find like 60% of the time goes into cleansing and organizing the data. So that is like, when you are cooking in the kitchen as a chef, so a lot of time goes into the activities related to like cutting the vegetables in the proper shape, right? And that's why we in India, you will find like we have so many assistants in the kitchen. Like maybe you can assume like we have a maid, and that maid is actually cleansing the data or like helping the chef to help to enable the data to be present in the meaningful way, or it should be like useful for machine learning. So data must be useful for machine learning. So cleansing and organizing data is another important area. And then actual cooking takes less time, or the code for writing machine learning algorithm, you will find that is very few lines of code. A lot of time, 80% of the time approximately going into other activities. And then you are like maybe refining the algorithm, choosing which algorithm should we go for. Should we go for random forest? Should we go for XGBoost? Should we go for maybe some other algorithm? So you have to refine, or you have to choose a machine learning algorithm. And then you are like analyzing the data, understanding the data, and based on that you will be finding maybe you will be exploring the data, you will be finding which data set is like required for building more context around this machine learning model. So all those activities are involved. So as a data scientist, when you're working in your day-to-day job, you will find like a lot of time goes into the acquiring data, as well as um, cleansing and organizing the data, right? So if you see like data science life cycle overall, there are multiple steps involved in a data science life cycle. So first of all, we identify a business use case, like where we want to apply data science. Um, let's say we want to have loan prediction. We want to predict how much loan we want to give to the customer. So that is one data science problem. Another data science problem can be like, should we give loan to this customer or not? So one problem is how much loan to give, and another problem is should we give loan, or should is it like the profile of the customer suitable for giving loan or not? The person will be a defaulter or not in future, so we want to predict that. So that is another problem. So another problem can be like you want to recommend items to the customer. So that is like Amazon. If you go to Amazon, there are millions of products, but you always see those products, like top few products that you like. So even I don't know which products I will like, but Amazon algorithms then know which products I will like or which movies I will watch. If you go to Netflix, you will find movie recommendation. Similarly, friend recommendation on Facebook. So this is another data science problem, right? Recommending something. Another data science problem can be anomaly detection. So you want to detect whether a particular item is anomaly in the entire data set or not. So in a particular record is an anomaly in the entire data set or not. So that is another data science problem. So we have so many different ways of ways of working with like data science. So in specifically, like if you talk about data science problems, so we have 5 different areas within data science. So it can be like classification problem, like you want to classify emails into spam or not a spam, or you can have like a regression problem wherein you want to predict something like housing prices you want to predict, right? Similarly, clustering, you want to say group customers together. So there are multiple areas in which data science can be applied. So first of all, you will be asking that question. You will identify the business use case, and you will define the success factor of your project, like when you will consider this project will be successful. So you will think about this like will you consider this project as successful when you will be able to find out 99% of the frauds, or do you want to predict 99.9999% of the frauds? So the success factor of the project will be defined by the business stakeholders. You need to get the alignment from the business stakeholders and capture those things before you start the data science project, right? So you have to define the business use case, and you have to then collect the relevant data for ensuring that you are able to achieve that particular use case. And then you will be performing a lot of feature engineering, and you will be looking into data, you will be validating data, you will be cleansing the data. And these are the activities that I just mentioned, like you are using different types of knives for cutting tomato, and like peeling potato, cutting tomato. So you are using different types of knives to clean the data. And once data is useful for machine learning, then you will be training, you will be cooking. And here you are validating machine learning model. You are choosing a machine learning model, you are validating that, you are evaluating, you are tasting the dish if it is good or not. And then you are visualizing. In the MasterChef program, you must have heard about this thing, like the feedback from the chief master chef, or you can say the person who is a judge in the program, will the feedback, a lot of times you will hear the feedback in the master chef program is, the taste is good but the presentation is not so good, right? So you must have heard about such kind of things if you have watched the program. So same thing here, as a data scientist, it is expected that the visualization, you have to present it in a meaningful way. You have to present it in a manner so that the management can actually consume the reports that you are generating from like your experiments. It should not happen that you are done with the experiment but you are not able to explain to the management. So you have to ensure that the final reports, that this is called storytelling. This is called storytelling. You have to present it in a meaningful way, so that it is consumable by the end customer. And that's what it is showing. Like if you go to the next slide, this is a presentation, like storytelling. You have to present it in a meaningful way. So then we have the production scenario. You have to deploy your machine learning model in the production. And a lot of times it happens that actually the person who is deploying the machine learning model is a machine learning engineer rather than a data scientist. So there is a distinction between data scientist and machine learning engineer. So, but in general, like overall, if you see the data science project timeline, there are multiple phases, and there are different roles which are involved, right? So just have a look, and if you have any questions, please do ask. I will take a pause and I will quickly go through the questions that I got on the chat. So I see there are no questions, and we are all good. So I would highly recommend, please do connect with me on LinkedIn if you have not done it. So this is my LinkedIn profile. Please have a look. Sorry. So please have a look, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn. And you can see which all certifications I have done. So you can also target those certifications, and this is our website. You can have a look. And I'm going to the kitchen now, Honda Navigator. So this is already installed on my system. So there are different types of kitchen. So I have installed Anaconda. So in case you want to get started with data science, you can go to Anaconda website. And here you will find the data science toolkit. You can download this data science toolkit from here. You can install one of the, like depending on your operating system, this is like a kitchen on your local system. So you can install Anaconda. So this is a first step. So first of all, if you're a data scientist, you must have a place where you can perform experiment. So this is the place. This is a place where you can find. I'll just copy and I will paste it here. So this is the place where you can find the kitchen. Like this kitchen will be installed on your local system. So you don't have to pay to anyone because it is all local. And second advantage is your data will not be going to any cloud provider. So it is all local. So you can actually install Anaconda and you can start performing experiments. So once you install it, then you will see this kind of interface. And here we have various options. So one option is Jupyter Lab, another one is Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Lab is comparatively newer compared to Jupyter Notebook, and it has much more capabilities than Jupyter Notebook. So I will be showing most of the demo in the Jupyter Lab whenever we will have more sessions in future. But right now I want you to get started with data science. So this is like the place where you will be this is the place where you will be performing experiments. So this is Jupyter Lab. And here you will find we will be using Python for performing data science activities. So Python is one of the preferred language because this is the most popular data science language. So I'm choosing that throughout in this session as well as maybe in future sessions. So just have a look, like this is Jupyter Lab. And like when you launch it, so then the interface is being launched. I will just open the interface. And this is like the kitchen where you will be performing experiments as a chef. So you will be playing with your data and you will be writing code here. So in this Jupyter Lab, so if you see this /lab, you will find like we have a YouTube channel also. Like if you go to our YouTube channel, and I would recommend watch these videos related to learning Python. So we have like if you go to like Data Couch YouTube channel, so it is there, like the link is there, Data Couch YouTube channel. So this channel link I am posting on the chat. So this channel has a lot of videos for learning Python. And there I have explained this thing in a very simple manner. So I'm sending the link for this channel. So this is Python basics. You can start learning Python. So this is a very first step in case you are not familiar with basic Python. So these videos, like there are like more than 19 videos, I think. Yeah. So this is a playlist, and in this playlist you will find multiple videos. So if you go to playlist, there are 19 videos. If you go to this playlist, you will find like step-by-step explanation regarding learning Python. In case you are not familiar with Python, then I would highly recommend as a very first step, you should go for these videos, understand like this kitchen, and I will pause it and I will quickly show you. First of all, I have explained what is history behind Python, and then I've also given walkthrough about Python basics. And then I have explained this Anaconda interface for approximately 13 minutes. And right now, since we are having limited time in this meetup, so that's why I'm not taking you through like each and everything which is explained here. But anyhow, if you watch these videos, you will get fair amount of idea, like how to get started with data science. Like this is just enough Python, very basic Python. You can actually get everything up and running for data science. Maybe in like first 2 hours you are spending, you are learning Python. It's a crash course. So you are learning Python in just 2 hours. And once you are done with this, then you can actually go for second step. The second step, once you are done with the Python, then second step is learn pandas, learn NumPy, learn Matplotlib or Seaborn, and then after that you are maybe also adding some additional related to statistics, and then you move into machine learning. So this is a very first step. When I say like you are getting started with data science, so you will be focusing first on the core language. So if you are not comfortable with Python, so I would highly recommend please watch these videos. It will give you good idea. So I'm going to take up the question. The question is, what is the difference between Jupyter Lab and Spider or other options in Anaconda? So Anurag, like Jupyter Lab is for interactive data exploration. So interactive data exploration, that means you will be firing the command, you will see the result. And when you say Spider, it's more like an IDE experience, in the integrated development environment experience. So a lot of times people coming from Eclipse background, coming from Java background, they develop like software engineers. If you want to do complete Python software engineering, in the sense like you're writing .py files and you want to like complete classes or in Python and those things, then you may prefer the Spider environment. But if you are having interactive data exploration, then you may prefer Jupyter Lab. But you will find these IDs also offer interactive data exploration kind of things. But Jupyter is a very common way to share with other data scientists. Let's say you are doing storytelling. So if you go to the Jupyter environment, so this documentation along with the code, so you can actually see like it's like a storytelling. When we are having such kind of interface, explain what is happening, and you can have like what is pandas, why pandas so popular. So you will find this is like a storytelling. You are also having the code. So whenever we are having the second meetup, I will actually move into pandas. So right now I am giving you holistic idea behind the data science project. and how it is, like what exactly is involved. Because in the next session, we will have a dependency on Python. So that's why I am just requesting everyone, like whenever you are joining the next session, please go through the videos that I am sharing right now. So these videos, these are all free. So you can have a look at the videos. Once you are done with the videos, then it will make sense to actually start doing some data cleansing and performing some experimentation, right? So now I'm taking another question from the chat. Anurag, are we good? Like, have you got the answer to your question? Like, what is the difference between Jupyter Lab and Spider? If you are not very clear, please do ask. Okay, great. Thank you for confirming. So there is another question from Heath. Some projects to start data science learning. How can we build those projects? Okay. So Heath, like very first thing, like I'm not sure about your background. Like in case you can unmute yourself and share your background, then I will tell you the path that you need to follow.
Yes, sir. I am Heet Shah, and I am currently pursuing BTech in computer science, and I am very much interested in Python, and I have also started learning Python and packages related to data science in Python. That's, for example, I think NumPy, SciPy, and all those packages, scikit-learn, and everything. I have started learning, and I have also done some courses which I got for free available on the internet. So to learn those packages and how to use them.
Got it. So Heath, I would recommend like go to Kaggle. I'm not sure. Are you going for Kaggle competitions or not?
Sir, I have not yet started going for those because yet I have not created any projects. I'm just learning.
Got it. So Heath, I would recommend like once you are done with the basic things in data science and you understand the syntax and everything, then I would suggest go for like Kaggle competitions or start looking into the data set. So right now you are in college, so you must be targeting certain companies. So you can see like in which companies you are planning to move into, and you can see like which domain they work in, and based on that domain, let's say they work in healthcare domain, so you can pick up a data set related to healthcare. Similarly, if some company works in real estate domain, you can pick up data related to real estate. So you can get a lot of different data sets, and you can also see the data sets related to BFSI sector, banking and financial domain sector. So once you have the data set, then you can actually start solving the problems related to that particular domain. So I would recommend from my side, like be domain specific and because data science without domain does not make sense. So if you are a data scientist, it is expected that you have a domain knowledge also. So I am just going to this picture, and if you see like data science is combination, and when I say it's a combination of business also. So when you are choosing a project, I would suggest like be specific to a particular domain. And once you are already having computer science related degree or skills, right? And you are acquiring statistics related skills also. And the thing which is missing right now is business. So I would suggest like focus on the specific business, specific domain, pick up the data set, and then start solving problems specific to that particular domain, and then start adding those into your profile, right? So that will help you a lot. So maybe initially when you are starting and you are not very much comfortable with a general idea behind a feature engineering, or like how do we do it practically, so I would suggest start with maybe first example Titanic dataset, and then after that you can move to Iris dataset, or maybe you can go for like the Iris dataset is multi-class classification problem, and Titanic dataset is like maybe binary classification, and then you are going for predicting fair housing prices, which is again like regression problem, a different problem. So you are solving different types of problems. So this is another approach. So one approach is you are domain specific. Another, like before you move into that particular domain, I would suggest go for like a breadth of different algorithms, so that you get good idea like how does recommendation engine works, how does time series data analysis works. So maybe you can just have a look in different examples, understand those things first, and then you can be specific to that particular domain. So that this is my recommendation or my personal advice to you. First of all, get comfortable with the basic libraries, Matplot, Seaborn, Pandas, and NumPy, all these things. You are comfortable, you are done. Then scikit-learn. If you are done with those, then be like maybe pick up Hello World programs of machine learning, data science, like the examples that I just gave, Titanic dataset. These are Hello World programs. And once you are comfortable with regression, classification, binary classification, multi-class classification, and these areas, then focus on domain. So I'm just thinking aloud, like this can be like 3 different things that you can have in your like learning plan. Does it help, like, Heath?
Yes, sir. I got a much better help with this. Actually, I have started learning pandas and scikit-learn and those packages, and I think I have learned the basics of pandas very well. And I am also working on some Excel sheets, Excel data sets to manipulate those data and to just use the basic functions which pandas provide to one-dimensional data sets also and other multi-dimensional data sets also.
Great. So good. So any other question from anyone? I wanted to check if you have anything, please feel free to ask. If you are not very clear with anything, so please feel free to ask. So we want to keep it interactive, so that's why we kept it on Zoom. You can always unmute yourself and ask questions whenever you are not very clear with anything that we are discussing.
So actually, I have a doubt. Like,
Yeah.
as you said, one should prefer doing Titanic dataset and the Iris dataset and all. This is the first point, right? And what if one have done all these datasets, and what after that? Like, what is the career path after that?
So my question to you is like, are you done with maybe building one recommendation engine? Are you done with multi-class classification, binary classification, regression, clustering? So are you done with all these high-level areas in data science? If you're done with all these, then move to domain specific. Like maybe you have a target, and based on that target, you should now start taking actions. So it should not be like you are it's good, like you will definitely learn if you're learning different domains, it's fine, but you are not focused. You are if you are focused towards one specific domain, then you will get better understanding about that particular domain. Let's say airline domain. So if you are targeting to maybe land into a company which is into airline domain, so then maybe it makes sense to have those projects in your profile, right? So that when you are at the interview table, then it is easy to actually showcase those skills in your resume. Does it make sense, Tanya, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got your point.
Okay. So any other question apart from that? Okay, so I think we are fine. I'm moving on. So I hope you got the idea, like where is machine learning and where is data science. So this is like the difference. Machine learning is just a combination of these 2 areas, computer science and mathematics, or specifically like mathematics is like a higher or broader level. But statistics is like subset of mathematics, and then there is linear algebra, and there are other areas, probabilities and many other areas. But in general, machine learning is here. And then business is very important when it comes to data science. So that's why I'm giving so much importance to domain knowledge, because if you are a data scientist working in telecom domain, and you are finding maybe customer churn, so you are finding whether the customer will leave the company or not. Let's say number portability is there, and customers are moving away from Airtel and they're moving to Jio. So let's say you are working in Airtel and you want to find out whether the customer will leave or not. Right. So you are working on a customer churn problem. This problem is completely different from a problem which is like HR domain problem. So in HR domain, attrition, let's say you are working on employee attrition problem. So employee attrition problem and the customer churn problem. So these are 2 different problems, but both are very much like, if you see the theme is like when customer is leaving or when employee attrition is happening. So the theme is very similar, but actually they are domain specific. So that's why I'm saying, as a data scientist, domain knowledge is very important. If you are okay, you got the difference between machine learning and data science, then we can actually now go back to the data science life cycle, and we will always be referring to this particular picture again and again. So this picture has many minute level details. So I would highly recommend, please do have a look at this picture. One single box in this picture can take one day, at least one day, to explain in depth like what exactly is happening. So I would suggest just have a look, and in the next session, whenever we are having, we will plan to be more hands-on. But I did not plan for the hands-on session this time because I wanted to give you these videos first of all. So once you watch these videos, like all these videos, like 19 videos, then you will have better understanding. So everyone will come on the same page, and we all will know Python, and then it will make much more sense to clean the data. And in the next session, we will focus on like making data useful for machine learning. How do we make data useful for machine learning? So we'll start focusing on that part. So before we have the next session, I would recommend, like, please watch the Python videos, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn. And I sent the URL already on the chat. And this is our YouTube channel. Through QR code also, you can actually navigate to that YouTube channel, and I've sent the link for the YouTube channel also. So if you have anything in your mind, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I wanted to cover this much today. So I just want to thank everyone for joining the session on Saturday evening. Most of you are joining from IST time zone. So thank you so much for doing that. So if you have anything, please feel free to stay back. Otherwise, I'm done for this particular session. Yeah, so Ashit, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Babuk. Hello everyone. So I mean, it's being I just want to understand. I'm working as like a data engineer, and basically looking to understand some stuff, basically explore more area on the data science, right? So I mean, I just want to understand what is your thought process around that. I mean, how should I start it? So I have a basic understanding of all the data acquisition side. I have the understanding of good understanding of the Spark, Python, and basically some platforms as well, like Databricks, majorly the Databricks, right? So how I can explore more in the data science, because every time whatever I got a problem is of data engineering, but not that. So I just want to maybe you can guide.
Yeah, sure. So Harshit, it is a very valid question, and I understand, being coming from data engineering background, you want to move to data science. So from my perspective, what I see, you already know Spark. So that is my understanding. In case you are you want to correct me, you can always let me.
I understand Spark. Yes.
Yeah, so that is a very good thing. Like, this is your strength, and I would suggest, like, go for scalable machine learning or scalable data science. So the natural path for you is like learn Spark machine learning. So that will be like a knife in the kitchen. Spark SQL, you already know, that is like for data cleansing, and that will be a bigger knife in the kitchen, and you have that. Now, if you learn Spark machine learning, then you can actually apply machine learning in the Databricks environment itself. And Azure Databricks, they integrate very well. They have this partnership also, right? So that is one thing. And now, second thing is like working on a real-time project. So for that, I would suggest like find out opportunities within your like company, and find out projects in the data science department, because a lot of times you're working with the data scientist, and you need to understand the business also, and you need to understand the vision of the project. So once you understand the vision of the project, then you will be able to understand the success factors, and like you will be able to gain better understanding, like what exactly business is looking for in terms of like interpreting the machine learning model or the reporting part. So I would suggest switching from one department to another department within a company is much easier compared finding a new job in data science, completely new profile. Because whenever you apply, they will have certain criteria which you will not be able to meet because you did not get chance to work on a data science. It's a chicken and egg problem, right? So you don't know data science, and or maybe the real world project exposure is not there, so that's why you are not able to get any. So I would suggest start looking for opportunities like within another department, another, like once you find the opportunity, then you can actually easily this is also called IJP, internal job post.
Yes.
So that's how I see. And your strength is Spark machine learning. If you can groom that, if you are comfortable with those things, and then you can move to. And second thing is like Azure also has Synapse, which is for data warehousing. I'm not sure if your company is using that. That is also becoming very popular. So you can consider using that particular technology, and that can help you in doing a lot of feature engineering, and your clean data or structured data is already there in the warehouse. You can integrate that with your notebooks, and you can do the sampling, and you can perform experimentation through that. Start looking into those areas also.
Yeah. So, I mean, one more question, Bhavik, from the platform perspective, right? There are so many platforms as of now available, even on the enterprise levels, right? Say, like you mentioned, Snaps is there, right? There's Teradata itself gives a good platform for machine learning and data science, right? They keep on building the new functions.
Snowflake. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Snowflake is gaining a lot of traction. Snowflake.
Yeah, Snowflake is larger. So what is the preferable choice of platform while you're working? Because mainly from the platform perspective, is it like, I mean, I'm not talking about current company stuff. I'm talking about in general. I mean, like what all the criteria we should look into when we choose the platform? So say maybe
Yeah, got your question. So Harshit, I would suggest go for open source technologies. This should be like your very first criteria, because if you are having knowledge of Spark, then you will understand how Catalyst Optimizer is working internally, and what is adaptive query execution, what is dynamic partition pruning. So once you understand these concepts, and you will find the technologies built by Azure or technologies built by Snowflake, they are also basically hiding similar principles internally. If you see Snowflake, Synapse, and many other technologies, they make use of clustering. So if you don't know what is clustering in general in open source technology, then how we will be able to correlate with that?
Correct.
So updates are happening on immutable data store. So if you see like Azure Data Lake Studio, or Azure Data Lake, specifically like the storage part. So this is immutable. Azure Blobs immutable, and S3 immutable. Google Cloud Storage immutable. But even then, you will find Snowflake is able to work on those, and we are able to update tables. So if you know how Hive is working, and how Hive is able to update the immutable HDFS, then you will be able to correlate that in the similar stack across platforms, and you will be able to justify that. It's not like you are a data engineer, so it's a black box. You are just firing the command, and you are able to get the results without actually understanding what is happening internally. So my personal suggestion to you is, if you are comfortable with open source technology, find out the equivalent open source technology. For example, if you talk about the AI platform, Google AI platform, it is built on Jupyter Hub or Jupyter like lab that we are talking about, right? So the kernel overall, the internally, you will find that is one of the core areas. Similarly, AI Hub, you will find TensorFlow Hub. So you will find the technologies which are exposed by these cloud providers. Airflow is exposed through Cloud Composer, right? So the technologies which are exposed by different cloud providers, they are mapping to one or the other open source technologies. If you are good open source, then you will be able to crack the problem.
Correct. Got it. Yeah.
Okay, that was a very good question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, I mean, do you, I mean, when you were talking about I think this is a new series, right? That you have started on Teams, yeah, right? So what would be, I mean, like, it would be like twice a week meetup, or maybe what's the plan? Do you have any idea?
Right now, I'm just thinking like at least once in 15 days, something like that we can plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. because everyone is having other commitments also. So it's just like Saturday evening, maybe 1 hour doing some social contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Pawan.
Thank you for asking. Okay, any other question apart from that? Okay, so then thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Anshuman, for New Year wishes. So happy New Year to everyone, and stay connected. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn in case you have not done so. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon. So if you have anything, please feel free to reach out on my LinkedIn, and then we can discuss this further.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.